the solar park, it had its sword-turning ceremony last week, Thursday. Of course, energy and the economy are two major topics for Karen. It's interesting because it seems as though there was justifications given for Trinidad's new green initiatives. But I'm not too sure by it on how effective they're going to be.
So I just want to say very briefly, and this is from the papers, not me. Since 2018, BP and Shell, these are huge players in the global market. So this is not some Trini part companies who pushing back. And since 2018, the solar energy project was supposed to have come off the ground. In the first report I read, the reason given why it did not come off the ground was licensing. They could not get the license to begin the project. And what has happened, as we know, that the cost of providing electricity to the electricity providers, PowerGen, TGU, etc., to TNTech, has risen from the 4 cents per kilowatt per hour to 6 something. So this Regulated Industries Commission, which is now looking at raising the price of electricity, it has only had the effect, I think, of complicated matters, because the idea was that the solar energy would replace some of the natural gas that was being used to generate electricity. Yes. Now that Shell and BP are telling you this is how much it's costing, it is going to mean, it has to mean that they are not going to sell their solar generated electricity for less than the $6, which is higher than the natural gas. So what it does mean is that we have to prepare for natural gas prices, for electricity prices to go up. In the meanwhile, in today's papers, Shell drilled a dry well. It's the second one, I believe. And what we do know is that oil is still trading at 2 something. What we do know, ammonia is trading at quarter of what it did. And what we do know, which we don't have time to look into, is to look at the fact that I believe, I do not have a crystal ball, as the minister not have a crystal ball, but I do believe that the geopolitical aspect of the oil is definitely going to keep oil prices high. And last point was because when I spoke to Sean, because we have these very animated, that's a nice way of putting it, very animated conversations. He said to me, so he made me look it up, which was a good thing. He says, yes, but Karen, no matter what you say, remember, Russia is in a thing because so many countries have been put a cap. EU has put a cap from February the 5th and taking oil from Russia. UAE and Saudi Arabia, the best friends of the United States, they also will not take it. But guess what? April 18, the look you gave me there is to say, Karen, I didn't exactly see that. But in any case, the April 18 report is showing that the ability of the America to affect Saudi Arabia and UAE is waning. And in fact, Russia diesel jumped 33% from Russia to Libya, Egypt, Tunisia. India is acting, 1/3 of its arrivals are coming from Russian oil in March. Diesel, which is all this is refined oil, has increased to Turkey, Brazil, Saudi Arabia, naphtha, fuel oil, crude oil, Asia and the Middle East, Tunisia, Libya. So what they are saying, there's an acceleration in exports of diesel to Saudi Arabia through direct ship-to-ship or from ship-to-ship or direct transfers. Bottom line is, it shows the waning influence of the United States among its key allies in the Middle East and a rise in the fuel oil exports. That's all I wanted to say about that.
No, my thing
that's yesterday, yeah?
There are wider geopolitical implications because it seems to be more acknowledged that BRICS and the G7 are eventually going to become political blocs at odds with each other more than what we've seen before. Exactly. I'm not so confident in the long-term prospects of BRICS because they have their own issues, including the bill of whatever Russia's
EU
bill
doesn't have its own issues? Look what happened with Brexit.
No, I understand that, but I think people look at the G7's problems and they don't necessarily look at
You know what you have to look at? What you have to look at is this combined effect of the BRICS countries to create their own currency, What you have to look at is the Southeastern Asian countries creating their own equivalent of an IMF. What you have to look at that the major players, Brazil, Russia, China, India, are prepared to trade bilaterally in their own currencies. What you have to look at, which is what I don't think I mentioned on this show, is that no, I did not. Bonds, treasury bonds, are losing value.
Actually, you did.
I did?
Yes.
You have a good memory, you know. I'm losing value, which is why they say the Fed keeps on raising it. What I am trying to tell you, what I think, this is a concerted, determined effort of these countries, from the BRICS countries and other Asian countries, to remove the dominance of the United States using the petrodollar, to stop using their power to create embargoes on these countries, just as what we have. Why they didn't build the Shell pipeline? Why we didn't build it? America say we can't build it. So what they are saying is, we are going to come together and we are going to break the dominance of the US. They can no longer be printing US dollars as they have been printing without any assets to back it up. That is what is happening. So yeah. I do not have a, what you call it? The thing that is to look into the future. I don't have the crystal ball. But what I am seeing is of consider, and it's reflected in the price of natural gas and oil today.
Meanwhile, we might have spy versus spy right across the road in Maraval between China and the United States.
I actually remember doing some research on this. What Karen is raising was one of the theories. It was a theory that was floating around that actually led to the downfall of Gaddafi, where he was pushing to try and empower African states to break away from the dominance of the United States dollar, because the resources of minerals, oils, and gold in Africa is far greater than the reserves available in the UK, in the US, and whatnot. And it was his idea to push away from that dominance of the US.
Actually, even before that, at the end of World War II, we have to remember how many Trinidadians played such a big role. Ghana was the first country in Africa today. And you know who was behind it?
The West had a lot of
yeah, but you know who were the papers behind it? George Padmore from Tunapuna, right?
Yes.
CLR James, Cozy Harris from Dominica, he wrote their constitution for them. And what Americans were afraid of, Europe was afraid of, they were pushing now to have their own equivalent of a union, and that they did not want. So it started even from those days.
The only thing, though, is that one could argue Africa is more being, what is the word, colonialized via economic means from China, not so much America at this point.
I think we have to go for a break for our news. But Karen, I like your Sean impersonation. Well done. Anyway, we have to take a break now. I'm going to return. We'll open up the phone lines. We'll be right back.